All right, this is week 3 for Guardians Legacy stand-ups. So far, we've been working on reiterating what we had. This was a build week, so we lost a little bit of time. We did a play session. We got some good feedback on that, and we started fixing a lot of the stuff with the controller and some of the other aspects that we need for that. So I'm going to hand it over to the team now, and we're going to get started.
Well, this is right side up. Hey, Zachary Patton. This week I worked on doing textures, more concept art. It is upside down. Wasn't even right, it was sideways. I'm smart. Yeah, did some textures, did some concept art, did a bit of modeling, and next week I plan on doing more of the same. As well as getting more assets needed for the designers and the other artists needed.
This is Brendan Lima. I've been working on 2 objects for the main world, unwrapping them, and next week I plan to continue on doing that.
Remember to speak up because we're in a loud room.
I'm just kind of sick, okay?
Peter Dibbles, lead designer. This week's been documentation, combat, and getting that over to the programmers so they can start implementing it more. I personally have been doing white boxing for the overworld and starting the little forest area outside. Next week, going to continue on into that and see what else needs to be done.
Austin Meadowcroft, designer. Yeah, I was working with the programmers, giving them some documentation on combat. Also started working on some of the building interiors in the city.
This is Raina. This week I worked on squashing bugs for our build, and I worked on refining our combat system so that it is something that we can make into the actual game rather than a simple demonstration. Next week I'm going to just keep working on refining things and getting us set up for including whatever we're including next week. So yeah, I just have to stay on top of things.
This is Travis. Mainly I've just been researching stuff like how to do scriptable objects and interfaces and whatever else we're going to need to do later. Other than that, help do some debugging, help some other people with stuff. Pretty much it.
Christopher Kuhn, programmer. So this week we spent a lot of time on the character controller and getting everything working. Now everything should be running very smoothly. The camera stuff all got worked in. We also worked quite a bit on trying to get all the battle scenes and all that stuff working, the build bug squashing, things of that nature. Next week I will spend quite a bit more time making the AI use the same root motion controller the player does, and nav mesh, pathfinding, things like that when we get our final level finished for our hub world. And yeah, I think that's it, right?
Connor Bish, designer. Essentially, I worked with the programmers to talk about how the general combat's going to work, how the enemies are going to behave in battle, and how their attacks are going to be determined. I also worked on paper mapping the inside of the church area and figuring out how the player is going to interact with all, like, everything he can get out of the church area.
Hello, Devin Garrett, lead programmer. This past week I created a basic combat loop for the first build demonstration, and then worked with the designers in order to kind of figure out what the future combat loop is going to look like. And then this next week I'm going to be working with Reina in order to create a more complex combat loop and get more stats and abilities involved within that loop.
Michaela Farrell, lead artist. Today and basically this entire week I was doing UI, basically going back and forth with that, and will continue to do that along with some other stuff.
Overall, we're looking pretty good. We have quite a few goals that we want to reach through this next sprint. We're 3 weeks out, so we should be able to get them done at this rate. So we'll see you next week.